Live.
Oh yeah, we're live. We're getting ready to go live, and so, or at least I've got one. I hope that's not me. There we go. They're filing in. The doors are open.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, everybody? It's Frederic Poag again for Taco Tuesday, and I've got, as always, the awesome Julie Roginsky and Michelle Kenny. And so because they basically took over my show last week and kicked me off,
You bailed on us.
I didn't. I absolutely. So I'm going to stand by. It was a hacker that you hired to somehow push me out and then continue the show, because all
That's
I
what
got
I'm doing
was
with all my disposable income. I'm hiring hackers for Substack.
Yes. It's somehow a feminist plot against me. Like
Totally.
It is not easy being a white man in America. I know. It is. Everything's a plot. Everything.
I don't know how you guys do it. Oof.
Yeah.
You know what? I got to tell you, my shoulders have been exceptionally sore lately from just upholding the entirety of Western civilization with my fellow white heteronormative brothers. And,
Let me ask you this. How often in the 24 hours of the day do you think about the Roman Empire?
You know what? Here's the thing. I because I read Stoicism, it's probably at least 2 hours a day.
Like when that line went viral, I was like, they're not really thinking about this, are they? But then it seems to be the case.
They're reading memes, and it's like my thing is to them, and this is where I show my snotty academic classicism that Julie loves so much. I'll say to them, so have you read Livy? No? Yeah, then no. You don't really think about the Roman Empire, so. Have you read Suetonius? Do you know who Suetonius is? No. I've got Suetonius and Plutarch and Herodotus on my bookshelves. I can go get them right now. So
this sounds like something you want to brag about, but I'm telling you here, as a woman, you don't want to be taking that out on a first date.
Was it third date? Like third? So I saw something interesting today. And we'll just jump into this because so my friend, a fellow Substacker, former Marine, George at the Talentless Writer, apparently, so he did a reaction piece. There was a woman that said, she made this claim. I wish I had the article with me, but that apparently, this must be in New York, that her claim is men are now reading books in order to get laid.
I've heard this.
And so she's got this system where she says it depends on where they sit in a coffee shop, and how long it takes them to read a chapter and what book they're reading. And I mean, it was like this whole thing of, and at first it was like, of course my friend George was upset by this because he's a reader and, but I kind of took a different tack with this. I was like, wow. Women have become so distrustful of men, just in general, that it's like it's boiled down to stopwatches. Where and I keep thinking, is like, my God, one, is a man reading such a rare sight that you just automatically discount the authenticity of that, and two, is it that rough out there? I mean, is it that bad? I know that's rhetorical on my part.
It's rough out there. I'm married, so I don't know how rough it is out there.
Yeah,
anymore.
But had I not met and married my husband, I would be single. No way, man. Because, I heard this analogy the other day on Instagram or something like that. So I don't remember the name of the creator. I wish I could credit her. If somebody knows, please write it. But she said that dealing with men out in the world, specifically white men, is like being handed a gun. You just have to assume it's loaded, and you have to be very, very careful. Maybe it's not loaded. You will find out, but you have to be safe and you have to be guarded all the time. And I thought that was a very good analogy.
I'm going to second what Michelle said. If I weren't married to my husband, I too would be single. And I did not get married. And let me say, my husband and I were together for a long time before we got married. But I did not even get together with my husband until my 40s. And so I spent from whatever the age of high school when you first go out on your date, on for how many decades is that? Like 3 decades effectively being single, right? And dating.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of it in New York. And I gotta say, I have dated some good guys and I've dated some not so good guys, but I am 1,000% with Michelle. If I were not with my husband, I would be single. Like, it is rough out there. I don't know what the secret formula is to meeting somebody. I just happened to luck out and meet my husband. I think, Michelle, you probably feel the same way. Like, I just hit like the lottery with him. But I gotta say,
like, he's not an asshole. He's got a job. Like, you know what I mean? Like those things.
He actually reads, and not because he wants to get laid. He actually likes to read.
Right. He like
not
enjoys reading.
not Suetonius though, because that'd be a little,
No, he reads. My husband reads backgammon books. It's a little different, but
my husband reads the Rise and Fall of the the Rise and Fall of the Third Reich so much that I'm starting to.
I got that too. Like I've got actually, you know what? I just got the 20th Century Journal with William L.
William
Shire.
Shire.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I just bought this. I literally just got it.
Very nice. Well, my husband reads that book so often that I started.
Bought this too because it was not on my shelf. Fahrenheit.
Wow. Yeah.
My son just read that last year in school.
And
I had never read it before until he had to read it. Okay,
I got some young.
That's being a little pretentious. If you showed up,
come on.
If you showed up with a Carl Jung book on a date with me, I'd be like, you know what? You and your bullshit psychoanalysis. Bye-bye. Like, no.
Well, I think if it was a date, like, okay, so first of all, I want to go to Michelle's treat the white man as a loaded gun. And so as a former Marine, I feel like if that is how women are going to walk through the world, I've got to give you some rules we followed as Marines on the firing line. So first, treat every gun, treat every weapon as if it were loaded. Right? Keep your fingers straight off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Right? Never point.
This is very good.
Never point the weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. Right?
Okay.
You know, and there you go. I mean, it's just like.
Listen,
and never hand a weapon to anyone else that you have not personally checked to see if it was unloaded. Right. So if you're going to hand the guy off, well, I was going to say make sure he's unloaded, but like I don't want to go that far. It's too far. It's too much. I'm sorry.
I will say there's like a website or like a I don't know what it is, if it's like a website or a WhatsApp thing or whatever, but there's a place where women go and they share feedback about guys they've gone out with.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah. And it's, I mean, I think there was a big kerfuffle about it, like recently, because a guy infiltrated it, but then it's like,
and he was like, "Don't say what things about me." Like,
well, and that's the horrible thing, because it's like here you have women who are posting stuff like about guys they've dated. Right. And then you have the WhatsApp kind of scandal of guys who are in the group posting how to essay women. Right. So it's like very sort of
35,000 people in that chat, by the way. 35,000 men around the world having a conversation about how to rape women.
Yep. And so, I mean, I get it when women are like this level of distrust, in the digital media era. I mean, to answer your other question, no, Julie, I would not be so pretentious as to bring Carl Jung out to a coffee shop or a date to read. It would be Caesar's Commentaries on Gaul in the original Latin. That way she knows that I'm, I'm good at strategy, and thus, if I have to go into Cispan Gaul, we're ready. I'm ready. I can lead the legions. If
you show up to a date with Frederic, you have to sit down at the table and immediately say to him, "Carthago delenda est."
Oh, God.
And keep repeating it because you have to repeat it after every speech. Carthago delenda est.
I feel very not smart right now. I don't know what you're talking about.
It was something. It was something.
Cato for your Taco Tuesday.
It was something that Cato used to say after every one of his speeches in the Senate. It didn't matter what the speech was on, and he would end with Carthage must be destroyed.
Okay. You said Cato?
Yeah, it was. I don't know if it was Cato.
I think it was Cicero the Younger or Cicero the Elder.
No, it was Cato. Yeah, it was Cato. I want to say it was the Younger, not Cato the Elder. I think it was the Young. I could be wrong.
Every time you say Cato, I think Cato Kalin. I just can't not.
It was not Cato Kalin. But but before we go down this completely pretentious rabbit hole and everybody logs off as they should if we continue this discussion.
Listen, we have a comment from Brian.
Yes.
Brian says 35,000 men out of 9 billion. Okay, what's that percentage? So this means all men are untrustworthy? I'm so over females of this age. So glad I'm not in the dating pool. Y'all are nuts.
Can I take this one, please? Can I take it?
Yes, please.
So first of all, calling these women females is the giveaway, bro. So that's let's just throw that out. Secondly, if I handed you a bowl of M&Ms, right, and I said, "Hey, there's 1,000 M&Ms in this bowl, but let's say 2 of them will freaking kill you stone dead."
Mm-hmm.
How willing are you going to be just to reach in that hand and grab you a handful and take a big old? Come on, man. Listen, we have to stop. We have to stop this as men, and it's part of why I'm having this discussion. Is like we all too often want to invalidate a woman's lived experience, right? And that's where we have to stop with this. These things are very real. They're very. And it is something that they have to consider. I have the privilege of being a 6'5", very large white man who can walk in public. I don't worry about the same things. I don't worry about being attacked. I don't worry about, the things that women go through. And I've had family members who are women. I've had friends who are women who have been assaulted.
Yeah.
It is a sad fact of life. So that's why we're talking about it, And so to come on and say, well, it's females like you, it's like what? Like 2 married women? Like 2 women in general? Like 2 human beings? Come on, man. We got to do better, brother. We got to do better.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my preaching. That's my preaching for today.
Brian, we're also very glad that you're not in the dating pool anymore. That's all I'm going to say. Like, that's it.
Yeah, legit.
Like,
I'd be telling my girls to watch out. And it really says something. And I talk to my husband about this a lot because I don't like to take the subway after a certain hour, things like that. And he's like, "Oh, come on, it's fine." I'm like, "It's like you don't understand. Like since I was a teenager, my mother always told me to look over my shoulder, carry my keys in my hand, like don't walk after, dark. Don't do this. When I went to college, one of the first things my mom said, if you set a drink down, don't pick it back up. Go get another one. Go get another one." So, and these are just the things that, and that's my husband. I actually went out with my husband. Our friend is visiting from Chicago, and they were talking about, the good old days in our 20s, and we'd stay out till 5 a.m. And Joe was like, "Oh yeah, I used to walk from the East Village all the way down to my apartment in the financial district." I'm like, "At what time?" And he was like 4:30 in the morning. And I was like, "Wow, must be nice." What's that like? And those are just, it just becomes part of navigating the world. And, I wouldn't say, we're victims, but it's, you're guarded all the time.
Well, there's a reality associated with that. And it's different. And that's, I think, a lot of men are not cognizant about. That's why I read Caesar's commentaries on golf, but when I'm sitting in coffee shops, so women know I got that strategy.
So is this whole implication that men don't read except when they go into coffee shops?
I think that's the implication. I think they're looking at sort of like, as the sort of the actual, like the studies that they've done is like when men read less, and it depends on your education level, and then women are much more readers. And I think reading is also more of like a cultural thing, and I want to say in New York versus say like Los Angeles or other cities, like more people
Yeah,
in New York
people.
just read,
Well,
you
and also
know?
we're not in our cars. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
Right.
people, like people in LA or places that you have
Oh yeah, it's a car
you're
city,
not in a car for
100%.
so long. You know,
Yeah, good luck catching a train anywhere in LA. Like,
right.
like
Which
forget
is
it.
really quite. I mean, I could go on a whole diatribe about that. Los Angeles needs better public transit.
Yeah, I mean, it,
Yeah.
it really does, and but I think, I mean, what fascinated to me, like, and I think part of this is the online culture, where it's just, you know, a lot. It makes a lot of us fearful, and it's not just women. I mean, you see this with MAGA, where
Oh
they're
yeah,
fearful. They're fearful of immigrants. They're fearful of LGBTQ. They're fearful. Because the clickbait rage and fear is
right.
what gets the traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but part of the what makes that sells that fear is there's a real foundation that this could happen. And the thing is, even though it's like the actuarial tables, going to the M&M bowl analogy, are remote, if it happens to you, it's catastrophic. It's life changing in a horrible, horrible way. And so, it's kind of like, I don't even want to put another analogy to it. All I can say is, like, it's a reality I don't deal with, that I don't have a context of,
So
because
it's interesting that you say this, Michelle, and also Frederick, because I lived really fearlessly before I had my son. Like
Mm.
I am 5'3". I am
And I'm shorter than you.
I know, but like so we're both pretty short.
Yeah.
So I would say 5'3" on a good day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty small as you can see. And I used to walk home at 4:30 in the morning, take the subway at 4:30 in the morning, um, lived downtown. Same thing. Lived, when I went to college in Boston, used to cut across
Mm.
a park called the Fens, which was not particularly safe back in the early 90s all the time because I lived right on the park. And like consistently did not care. And
Hmm.
ever since I became a mom, I am so much more worried about my personal safety. And I think it's not for me, it's for him, right? Because if
Yeah.
something
right,
happens to me, like his life was, you know, I want to say shot, but it's not great. And so for that reason, I think like I've become a lot more self-aware and become a lot more worried about my personal safety, including riding the subway, which is demonstrably safer now than it ever
Oh
was.
yeah.
I grew up in New York in 1980 when the Bronx was literally burning.
Yeah.
But um and I've never luckily ever have been assaulted. And by the way, there but for the grace of God, because at the same time that I was cutting across the fens at 3 o'clock in the morning after hitting up the bars and not particularly conscious of my, surroundings, a friend who I went to high school with went to college up in Vermont and in
Mhm.
broad daylight went to her garage, which was in some, parking deck, and got raped at knife point.
mm,
So I say that because, like, it is there, but for the grace of God. Like, it is the
Yeah.
luck of the draw.
That's it.
She
It's
the
literally
complete
that.
luck of the draw. And so it's interesting where in your life, um, you become just
Mhm.
much more self-aware of your surroundings and why, right? And I think for
yeah,
me, it wasn't for me. It was because there was somebody else whose life really depended on my well-being.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
I, you know, I look at, I mean, it's a sad reality that, like we live in. Like, I did part of what was in Memphis when I was there, for a year in college. I did I guess they called it the Tiger Patrol because it's Memphis Tigers, and basically what it was a service that, women could, call, and then you'd
Mhm.
escort them from like the library or whatever back to the dorm, and stuff like that. And you had like real strict rules against fraternization, which I followed sometimes. Um, Listen, I didn't ask them out. If they asked me out, it was okay. Anyway,
Oh, right.
I, I lost track. I was saying what a good guy I was. Oh, I'm kidding. But yeah, no, but that was my first kind of taste of that reality where it's like, I would never think to do that. I would just be like, well, it's getting late. I got to go home. I'm just walking across campus.
Right.
Like that's not a big freaking deal to me.
Yeah.
But having had that experience, it's like, oh, and again, it's the reason they had those rules against that, hey, don't do this because blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Because, yeah, I mean, they're not calling you for that purpose, right?
Right.
Well, now they're calling you because they're already uncomfortable walking across campus.
Right.
Now you're going to make them even more uncomfortable and less likely to call in the future.
Yeah.
And by the way, I never, and Frederic, you might be more in this orbit because you're still out there, but I never used social media to date ever.
I did. I was an early adopter.
So the reason I didn't was not because there's anything wrong with it, but when I was single and it was just starting, I was on Fox, and so that was a little weird because there were a lot of people who did not, I did.
Sure.
But what I can't even imagine what it's like when you're meeting strangers. Like at least when Michelle and I were dating, like you'd meet people through people.
It was like normal.
Yeah, like
to meet people out.
Yeah. No, not really normal, but like there's nothing wrong with online dating, but like,
No, but I mean, I think about it the same. I was probably around the same time, Julie, that like, when I started dating my husband was like right when online dating started to do this.
Yeah.
And I was photographing a lot of weddings at the time, and I noticed a severe uptick during like I would say 2010, 2011. Yep. When couples met on JDate or they met on Hinge or whatever they are, or eHarmony, and that became like a regular normal thing, and it was like every couple met online. But before that, if they did, they didn't want to talk about it. They
I know
because they were embarrassed.
Well, it's just like being set up on a blind date, but like at least if you're being set up on a blind date, the people setting you up. Like there's somebody to validate you. Like, my husband was kind of socially distantly kind of in the same circles that I was in. So like there were 20,000 people that could have validated who he was, right?
Yeah.
And I also knew him, so he was a friend well before we ever got together.
Yeah.
So like, but and I think the only guy I ever dated who I met randomly was this guy that I dated who I met in a bar, and he looked just like John Hamm. And my friends to
hard
this
to say
day,
no to that.
Very hard to say no to that at the height of Mad Men.
John Hamming,
yeah, the height of Mad Men. And he was wearing this Nathan, if you're listening right now, I love you. You're great. He was wearing this pink corduroy jacket, hot pink. And I was with two of my friends. And I remember grabbing one of them, my guy friend Bill, by the arm and being like, oh my God, look at that guy. He's like, strawberry jacket. And I was like, he looks just like John Hamm. And it was like, that's it. I ended up dating him for like a year. But
wow.
Yeah. But he, but that's the only time I ever met somebody completely randomly without any kind of connection. Otherwise, like, yeah.
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 I did that once. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've dated online off and on, when so I've been single for a while. And like when I got out after I got divorced, it was Match had just come on, and then OkCupid was happening.
Cupid, yes.
Yeah. And OkCupid
I remember hearing them all. There was like a fish one, and then some of
Yeah, I never did fish. I never did what's the one that's the hookup app?
Match?
Not Match. No, I ain't done that one. Tinder. That's the one. I never did Tinder,
Tinder.
I did Bumble.
That's the swipe left thing, yeah.
I did Bumble and really what I got was, I never got into a relationship from it, but boy, did I get some wild dating stories. Mostly it was just like, whew, yeah. I missed out on dating a PhD candidate, Pilates instructor in Philadelphia because she was a diehard Bernie supporter and did not like Hillary. So this was in 2016.
Wait. I need more information. you turned her down because she's a Bernie supporter? Or
No,
she turned you down?
God, no. No,
Okay.
I ain't turned down no Pilates instructor with PhD level smarts. No, she got mad because she said I was morally deficient because I supported Hillary Clinton.
Well, this is the problem with the Bernie. But yeah.
Yeah. Oh, do you want to hear that? Oh, do you want to hear that story?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Okay. And I'm sorry, chat. Well, just indulge a Tennessean while I spin a yarn. So I was in Philadelphia. I was living out of Prospect Park. I had a third floor walk up, loved it. I was like 2 minutes from the airport. I had a Wawa right next door.
Wow.
I had a pizza joint with the subs right across the street. I had a surly Chinese restaurant dude where it's literally you just hand it through your slot. And next to that was an Italian bakery. And then one block up was the SEPTA going into town. I mean, it was like for a single man in Philadelphia, you could not have made it better. Right.
Okay.
So I wasn't organizing. I was like busy grounding it out as an operations manager for American Airlines. Right. So, but I got on a dating app and this woman I met was actually through OkCupid. It was like sort of in the waning days of it. She was in international law or something, getting her PhD. I think it was I want to say Villanova or something like that.
Mm.
And I hit her up. We started, rapping, blah blah blah, right? And this was a case of your boy doing too much. I was doing too much. So we were texting, right? Getting ready to meet her, right? So I'm going into town, into Philly on the SEPTA, right? Know where she's at. We're going to meet at this little kitschy bar down, where it's just like, hey, come up to the second floor and I'll pull out like a beer can out of a tub and craft beer and here you go and pay $10 for it. Like whatever, So we were texting back and forth and something that happened in the news. And I said, man, I can't believe they're doing Hillary like that.
Oh boy, yeah.
Doing too much, right? Doing too much because I'm assuming. And she goes, well, what do you mean? And I said, oh man, I was like, don't be a Trump supporter. I was like, come on now. It was like, because I assume
wait, stop. Because before you go on, what's the timeline here? 2016?
2016, right?
Before or after the convention?
This is
Bernie
probably
out of the race.
He was so he's like it was before the convention, right? So it's
okay.
Before,
okay,
right? So I said something. She goes, "Are you a?" She goes, "Are you a Hillary?" Like so, here I see the dots, right? He's like dot 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 dot. I'm like, hell, here we go, because I'm expecting to go, oh my god, I know, like OMG, I know, and I'm like, cool. She's like, "Are you a Hillary supporter?" I went, uh-oh. I was like, and so you can't lie your way out of this. You can't backtrack it. You just have to own it. You go, I said, yeah, I said, I'm going to vote for her in the primaries, right? Dot, 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 dot. I'm getting ready. I was like, yo, she still ain't answered. She's like, we're going to have to talk about this. I was like, hold up. We ain't even been on a date yet. Like, how is it? Like, I'm getting trouble like already. We ain't even met. So I meet up with her. I'm already planning my strategy out on the SEPTA. It's like, all right, bro. It's like I'm going up to the third floor with the C-suite where we messed up in the operation, and I'm trying to be like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pivot to this. We're gonna talk about that. Get on her thesis, or if she don't like that, let's pivot to something else. It's like let's get it in academia. It's like it's like stay away from the Roman Empire. It's like no, leave the Caesar commentaries on Gaul at home, man. Leave that at home. We're gonna put that aside. It's gonna be about her tonight. It's gonna be about her. Man, I get there, go up, meet her up, and she's got on like this is before the Lululemon pants, but she's wearing the yoga pants and looking cute. And I'm just like, she's like, I was like, I'm a part-time Pilates instructor who's bisexual and also like getting a doctorate. It's like, I'm like, you're my dream girl. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
And so we're going upstairs. And I'm just like, so tell me about you. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, feeding it. It's like, oh, I get that. Nah, no problem. Get whatever you want. Blah, blah, blah. Smile on my face, keeping it light. She takes a sip of her beer and is like, we got to talk about why you support Hillary. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, well, and at first I'm like, well, I'm just a country Democrat, that we're gonna just try to get somebody in there that can do the job, and I think that old gal Hillary can get it done, by gum. That didn't work, So now I'm trying to I'm trying to do anything. But my pride got the better of me, right? As it does. And she kept going. She kept grilling me and grilling me. And finally, we get to a spot where she goes, I just don't understand how you could be so morally deficient, because don't you understand that all legislation that comes about does big things like Social Security? And
Oh no.
so,
Oh no. I know exactly where this is going. You
oh,
are
yeah,
going to
you
school
do.
and you're
Oh,
going to
yeah, you
school
do.
her on the history of Social
Oh,
Security.
yeah, you do. Because your boy's pride just said, all right, Junior, sit down. It's like, we taking over it. And so it is now my turn to take the big swig of beer. And I go, well, and I took a deep breath and I said, well, actually, Social Security was started as a program for widows and orphans under FDR. And then over time, it had, and several iterations of legislation, it has become what we know today as Social Security. So while it didn't start for that, it was a starting point that could eventually evolve. And that's why incremental legislation is very important. And that's why I support Hillary Clinton.
Right.
So I stop. It gets quiet. And she's pulling out her phone, and I see that white glow, and I see, and I'm just like, I had a chance, but I didn't take it because I said, "What are you doing?" She's like, you know, she goes, "Well, I'm looking to see if your research is correct." I said, "Oh yeah, and what's your research tell you?" She says, "Well, that you're half right," and I said, "Keep looking, you'll find out I'm all the way right." That was it for you, boy. Like,
And what does she have a PhD in?
it was international. She was going for international law, like, something like that. And it wasn't history. I know that. But here's the problem. I should have shut my mouth and, just not gone there. But I did, because my pride got in the way, you know.
Yeah. I'm trying to, because I'm trying to think, Michelle, I'm trying to remember because it's been a long time.
That was an OK Cupid date. And, it's
Yeah,
like,
I'm trying to remember, like, if some guy started randomly talking politics with me and we disagreed, like, would that be kind of a deal breaker? It wouldn't be
oh,
a
it's a
deal
deal breaker
breaker.
for her.
Yeah.
It's like, but I mean, in my defense, I was trying to steer it. This was like 30 minutes. I'd go, hey, what about the weather? Yeah, it's nice. But why are you supporting Hillary Clinton? I was like, well, hey, what about your thesis? Yeah. I'll talk about that later. Why are you supporting Hillary Clinton? It's like,
Well, let me tell you, there's nothing hotter than talking about the history of Social Security on a first date. I mean,
listen,
who among us would not want to take you home immediately after
this
that?
is the playbook that I'm going to continuously go with. This is the kind of advice that I need in my life. You know what I mean?
I,
I'm curious as this is what I figure this is what New York women of our age they like. Social Security, the Roman Empire, Caesar's commentaries on Gaul, Carl Jung, like it is right there.
Listen, my first date with my husband, just so you know, like I had known him prior. Like I met him at karaoke like a couple years prior, and then we like reconnected, and he had moved to DC, and Barack Obama had just gotten reelected.
Yeah.
And I was trying to go to a ball. I wanted to go down and be in DC for the weekend or whatever day it was. And he said, "Would you like to come to DC? And I'll take you to one of the balls." And so, spending the whole 3-4 days celebrating Barack Obama, and then he took me to the American History Museum and the whole thing. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like that was very, I liked that.
Yeah. And I mean, well, and that's the thing is, I know a lot of this is tongue in cheek, but everybody's different, And I think you got to be authentically who you are.
Yep.
That woman, she was very passionate about Bernie, and like that was her thing. And so, like it was a deal breaker for her. I mean, she missed out on some good traveling. That's all I can tell her. It's like, I was working for American Airlines, and it's like, girl, we get first class going to Europe.
We're flying.
Oh yeah, we going.
Well,
we
my
first
friends,
class in a
you could go
787.
ahead. You could go ahead and drop Bernie all you want, and you can go ahead and drop Barack Obama all you want. But I met my husband, and we did not start dating until many, many years later at a victory party for one Senator Robert Menendez. How about
Oh my
that?
gosh.
Oh, Bob Menendez. Oh wow.
How about that?
Did you see the stash of golds?
I did not see any stashes of gold. I was not even supposed to be at this event. But I had a client who was a big donor to him and could not go and asked me to go in his stead to represent the company.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, I don't want to go all the way to New Jersey. And which, by the way, is right across the river, so it's not that big of a deal, but I didn't feel like it.
But it is a trek. I mean,
I was in New Jersey all the time because I had so many clients in New Jersey, but I just didn't that day. And I had just yeah. And so this is back in like 2012. And I went, and I had just had a baby too, so like 6 months earlier. So I really didn't wanna leave him home, and I went to this fundraiser. Well, it wasn't a fundraiser, it was like a party, like a victory party for, like, his big donors, of which I was not one. And I'm hanging out at this bar talking to all these people I know, and then my husband comes up, and we're introduced, and we became we sort of became friendly. He lived in the city too, still does. So I gave him a ride back to the city because he needed one. And that was it. And we just kind of became friends for a long time. But
there you go.
Yeah, but
so you literally had a When Harry Met Sally sort of like.
Yes, I would say
friendship.
this. Yes, and I would say
riding in the car. You needed a ride.
Riding in the car. And so you guys go ahead. Some people have Paris, we'll always have Paris, we'll always have Bob Menendez.
Yeah. I'll always have karaoke. We'll always have karaoke. Here's and this is, to your point, Frederic, about like be yourself, be your authentic self.
Yeah.
I tell people this too. As someone who really didn't have game at all as a young woman, like I was an actor and like we're all crazy. And I felt very desperate to not date an actor, or a musician or a drummer, for that matter. And that's a stories for another day. But I hosted karaoke as like a side hustle, 2 nights a week in Gramercy Park. And I would do it from like 10 to 2 every night. And my boss said, "Would you mind coming in early on Wednesdays to host karaoke league?" I was like, "Excuse me? What is that?" And she's like, "It's like Dart League or Bowling League or something, but it's for karaoke, and they have like teams and like they compete against each other." And I was like, "Whatever." And they were going to pay me like an extra $100 or something to go for 2 hours. So I was like, "Yeah, whatever." And these people were freaks. And I was like, who are these? And these people were all 9-to-5ers who came after work and like would let steam off the costumes. Like, I mean, it was nuts. But then slowly these people became my friends. And I actually like really respected like, how like authentic they were. And that's how I met my husband. And, I was like,
Wait, back up, because I've met your husband.
Yeah.
Joe was in a karaoke league?
Oh, yeah.
Dig it.
I need more information. Wait, this is like, what?
Yeah.
What?
My husband, okay. As my Long Island mother, my Long Island mother-in-law says, "My Joseph, he's not a singer. He's an entertainer."
So what was his favorite
Joseph is a Renaissance man, because I don't know if people know this. He's also like the number 2 or 3 backgammon player in the world.
Well, in the world, he's like number 10, but last year he was number 2 in the United States. Yeah.
He's number wait,
he's
what?
a lawyer. He's
a banking regulatory attorney. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an interesting guy. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So what was the so you're at the karaoke league. What was the song that was like, I'm this guy?
There wasn't one.
No?
There wasn't one. It literally, I mean, I reconnected with him because at the time I was in this horrible relationship I was getting out of. It was awful. My life was a mess. And so I had reconnected with him like 2 years later on Facebook because I think I was asking something about DC or something. I forget what it was. And he reached out to me in like a DM and he was, talking to me about stuff. And when we started texting, and I was like, I guess I remember Joe. Like, Joe's such a nice guy. And then Joe was like, oh, told me where he went to school and that he was a lawyer and all these things. And like, for me, having dated drummers and backup singers and actors, like, I was like, I'm sorry, what? You're a real person? Oh my God. So, and it just goes to show, like, I didn't know. I mean, he was like the complete opposite of anybody I ever would have dated ever.
Well, there you
And
go.
it turned, that's what I mean. It's like, and he was doing something that was authentically him and I was too. And like, it's just people find each other and, you're a freak flag, let your freak flag fly and you'll find someone, that has one too, just like yours.
What is New York karaoke like? Because I know what like East Tennessee Southern karaoke's like.
Is it a lot of Leonard Skinner or is it a lot of country?
It's Skinner and especially Hank Williams Jr.
Okay.
It's pretty eclectic.
All My Rowdy Friends is gonna get played. Like it's just and everybody's gonna get on the stage and belt out something for All My Rowdy Friends.
Oh
like,
yeah,
it's happening. Like it's just gonna.
I would say there's a fair amount of Journey, unfortunately. I would always be like, oh God.
I can dig that. I could do Journey. Come on,
when
no
you're
way.
a stone's throw from New Jersey, it's like it's the Bridge and Tunnel crowd take it a little too seriously, and it's a
lot
bit
of
much.
Springsteen. Right?
Hey, I could party with the Bridge and Tunnel crowd. I'm all about that. Like give me the big hair, give me the Trans Ams, like give me the Irocks.
Yeah.
All right. As somebody who's from New Jersey, as you can see, I don't have big hair because I couldn't, even in the 80s, I couldn't get it to be big, even if I tried. But speaking of Jersey, the last karaoke song I ever did was everybody was like, can you please shut the F up and get off the stage? Because I forgot how long it is. Just kept going.
Wait, what song was this?
Rosalita by Bruce Springsteen.
Oh God, yeah.
And it goes on for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 10 minutes. Everybody's like, what is going on here? Get off
like
the
Paradise
stage.
by the
we pay respect for the boss, okay, Julie. It goes on as long as it goes on.
I love Springsteen, but come on, 10 minutes of Rosalita, like you could probably do Born to Run. You could do something faster than that. I just love Rosalita. It's a great song.
Jersey women are awesome because they're like, Southern women. They're like, especially when they're mouthy and they get in your face. Love that. Like
Southern women are passive aggressive though. You have the whole like brave, like bless your heart.
No, you have so there's two types. Like there's the kind of prim and proper Southern women that do like the passive aggressive, and then there's the country women that are just like, oh hell, it's like yeah, you're in for it.
Which is awesome. Tennessee. You're from Tennessee, right?
I'm a native Texan. I was born in Victoria, Texas.
Okay.
Where's that?
So Victoria is about southeast, closer to the coast from Houston, right? So it's like southeast Texas. And then my dad, when I was about 1, he moved me and my mom up to Point Barrow, Alaska for his job. He's in the National Weather Service. So I technically lived above the Arctic Circle when I was a baby. Mm-hmm. And then he got a job as Director of Labor Force Management, and we moved to Prince George County, Maryland, and lived there just outside of D.C., and then he got a job as the number 2 guy in the Hawaiian region. So we lived in Kailua, Oahu.
Nice.
In Hawaii. Then we went back to Texas for a little bit. And then my dad retired in East Tennessee in Tri-Cities. Okay. So first Kingsport, and then I settled in for a little while into Johnson City. And when work started drying up, I said, well, I had a job as a security analyst in the Department of Navy. So I was going for my master's degree. I was getting in foreign policy in China under Taft and Roosevelt. And I was going to be security analyst for the Department of Navy. I had a bunch of friends that lived up there, had my own little circle. I was going to go have my DC life. I was going to get me, a federal employee girlfriend and future wife. I had it all laid out, right? And then sequestration happened under Boehner in 2012 and axed my job. And I was throwing bags for U.S. Airways at Tri-Cities Airport while I was finishing up my thesis. And a buddy of mine was like, well, why don't you just transfer up to D.C.? I thought, okay. So I transferred to Chantilly, Virginia, and all my bills doubled in half again from what they were in East Tennessee. And so I'm struggling, but I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna get in the government at some point, blah blah. And I was in the bag room one day, and a guy named Freddie Loudon, who was the director over the express side at U.S. Airways and DCA, comes up to me one day. He says, Fred, you're a big guy. And I was like, or he says, I said, or he says, Fred, you have a lot of presence on the ramp. And I said to him, what are you trying to say? I'm a big guy? And he says, no. He says, people follow you. And what that was anytime there was a flight to work, my Marine Corps corporal would come out and you'd have these guys in the trailer that want to drag ass out there. And I'd go in and go, yo, let's get outside. And they'd come outside because I ain't working that flight by myself. And he said, how would you like to be a manager on the ramp? I said, does it pay more money? And he said, yeah. I said, I'll take it. He said, well, you got to apply first. I said, okay. So I said, I went and applied for it and became a manager and, was living.
Did we just lose your mic?
Did I? Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, something happened to me then. That's weird.
I can hear you just fine.
So I was living in I got a crash pad in Crystal Valley to where I was like, basically what that means is like, so they for pilots and everything, because how that works is you're not in the station. Like let's say you put in for a job and you become a flight attendant, you become a pilot. Just because you have a house or you live in, say, Texas doesn't mean you're going to get based in Texas. So you might get based in DC or New York or LA or one of the hubs until you get the seniority to move back. So what they do is, and how they do it on call is like you have an active day where you go and you have to be in your uniform and you go to the airport and you might have a flight schedule, or you're in what's called active, like you're in reserve status, which means you can sit at the house. You have to be within a mile of the airport. And if they call you in, you got to hustle your ass to the airport and get on a bird. And, if they don't call you, you get paid so much. So basically what it is they'll rent out an apartment, right? Not the company, but other people will set up what's called a crash pad, and they'll have like bunks in these rooms. So you might have we had like 8 bunks, and you rent it for like $225 and, you sleep there. And so, yeah, it's like I'd sleep there. I was on 4, off 3. So I'd sleep in DC in Crystal City, 4 days. And then I'd go see my girlfriend back in East Tennessee, just fly for free back home.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was like living out of a suitcase, had a beard, all surly, and then the guy who was the director on Mainline got a promotion to vice president of hub operations in Philly. And I was working with Mainline. I had a mentor over there. He was teaching me all about baggage and everything. So I was like, oh, I'm gonna, I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna stay in DC. I want to get to Mainline. And, I see Cedric, this guy, his name was Cedric Rockamore. He's still with.
Great name.
I know, right? It's the best name in the world. That's why
Very
I say
like movie star name.
Yeah, he's like, and so he's walking, and I'm feeling, here's me in the beard, and like I got my blue vest on, and I got my blue boonie hat, and I'm just like all sassy, and I'm just like, hey, yo, Ced. And he turns around, I was like, man, I heard about that promotion. That's what's up, dude. Congrats. Like I'm somebody, right? He turns around and he's like, oh, thank you. And I didn't know how cool he was. And we start chatting. He goes, hey, my wife's from Memphis. I was like, oh, no joke, man. I went there for a year in college. I mean, East Tennessee. He's like, wait a minute. So you moved up here to take a job in aviation? I was like, kind of, sort of. I said, why? What's up? He says, you want to move again? I said, what are we talking about? Come up to Philly and work Mainline with me. I said, let me think about it. So I took about half a day to think about it. And it finally dawned on me when the vice president of hub operations in Philadelphia says, come up with me.
Yeah.
You go. You don't think. Yeah. There's no thinking.
Yeah.
So I called him up. I said, all right, man, I'm in. Let's do it. So then began my aviation career with American. And then I worked in Detroit, and then I worked in Los Angeles for a little while. And then the pandemic hit. Came home to where my mom and my sister were in Lone Tree. And I ended up having to be a caregiver for my sister. And then my mom sort of indirectly, because we didn't know it at the time, she had dementia. So I ended up caregiving for 2 people. And I'd been looking to make a transition in entertainment and writing, and I kind of just started doing it because it was the only thing I could do because I was caregiving for 2 people, and that's the only thing that let me work remote.
Right.
And that's how I kind of fell into this, and I'm no longer Big Country. That was my nickname in aviation, was Big Country.
Isn't that funny?
Well, I went up. So the boys in Maryland gave that to me. The guys I work with. It was just so they give people nicknames. That's when they get cool with you, you kind of get a nickname. And so I was in the bag room one day, and there was this old boy. He started, he just kind of they were playing spades, and he puts it down, and he just like it just came to him, and they decided by consensus. He goes, you know what? We're tired of calling you Frederic. I said, okay. We don't call you Big Country. And I said, bro, there's only another Big Country, you know. And I was like, he played for Oklahoma. He says, yeah, but you Big Country. I said, brother, if you went to East Tennessee, you'd know I'm probably the least country dude you've ever seen in your life. He says, well, to us up here in Maryland, you the most country dude we know.
Yeah, of course.
So you Big Country. And I said, okay. And I just thought it wasn't going to be nothing. And then everybody started calling me that. And how I knew it stuck was Freddie Loudon, the director, one day, we're passing each other in the hall. And I said, hey, Fred, because we have both the same name. He got this smile on his face. He goes, what's up, Big Country? I said, oh, hell. I see it, And the funny thing was, I got to Philadelphia, I used it as an icebreaker, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, all these Philly people are just like, when they don't know you, right? They're like, what the hell are you doing at my gate? No, I mean, it's just like real combative. Yeah. And I'd say, hey, man, my name's Big Country. And they're like, say what? I was like, oh, yeah, they call me Big Country down in BCA. He's like, I'm from East Tennessee.
Someone named you Big? Is Big your first
Yeah. So
they
go, can I call you that? I said, yeah, man, you call me Big Country, no problem. So
really? They just probably punch you in the face as an introduction. That's what people
do. Yeah, everybody started calling me up there. And
that's real.
I had this one, my manager, right, on my team. He calls me in, and he was a real serious dude, right? And he says, Frederic, you are a manager for Mainline. You are no longer working for Express. He talked like that. And he's like, you don't have nicknames. Crew chiefs have nicknames. Agents have nicknames. Managers do not have nicknames. Do you understand? I said, okay, no problem. You will demand that these agents respect you and they call you Frederic. No more of this Big Country nonsense. I said, understood, sir.
Sure.
No joke. I literally walk out the door. I'm walking into the main area, the bullpen, right? Here comes Cedric. He sees me. Like I'm literally just walked out the door from this chewing, right? Cedric sees me. Big Country, my man. What's up, dude? I said, what's going on, Ced? And after that, I could just see my man, the guy who just chewed me out his face just drop. I was like, yeah, I think it's going to be Big Country, baby.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
It was like, yeah.
Spend too many resources and too much of the, company time having to, teach everyone my real name. This is literally easier.
I'm not even kidding. It followed me up to Detroit. So and I didn't introduce myself there because it's different. I was inside, it's very Midwest, so everybody, it's a little more subdued. And, and I people would ask me, what'd you do at Philly? Oh, I did this, and this. Like, no, you didn't do that. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, I worked here, worked international, did this. And so there was a flight attendant there one day, right? And the gate agents call me over and they say, she's based out of Philly. I said, oh, okay. And she says, she's never heard of you. And I said, oh, all right, no problem. And so she's like, Frederic says he worked in baggage. And, she's like, oh, I know Cam. That was our boss. And I was like, yeah, I worked there. She's like, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, I don't know who you are. I said, well, in Philly, they called me Big Country. She's like, oh, you're Big Country? Oh, my God, I've heard of you. I was like,
that's great.
And my gate agents are just like, what? I was like, oh, yeah, that was that's what they call me down there. They didn't call me
is that what we're supposed to call you now? Should we call you Big Country or should we stick to Frederic?
In LA, somehow it morphed into Big Coffee. It's always been so. Every nickname I've had has been Big something. In the Marine Corps, it was Big Nasty for reasons, and aviation with AA, in DCA, Detroit, and Philly, it was Big Country. In LA, it became Big Coffee. Because I walked in one day and I had this big coffee in my hand, one of those obnoxious things you do at the gas station. And this guy, Victorino, looks at me. He's like, I was like, man, that's a big coffee. I was like, well, I'm doing big things, baby. I gotta have big coffee.
Well,
And
he's got to be a big taco now.
yeah,
It's Taco Tuesday. I think that's gonna have to
big
be it.
taco. Oh Lord,
Big taco.
I think it's gonna have to be big taco, my man. Sorry.
My goodness. Oh Lord, if that sticks. Woo.
Oh, you know what? There's 400 and something people on this chat at the moment. I think we all know what it is. It's big tacos.
Big taco. Oh my
big
goodness.
taco.
I ain't gonna say
Taco
nothing.
Tuesdays with big taco. That's what it's gonna have to be.
It's always big something, right? I mean, at my age, you can't go by big nasty anymore. It's like you can't do it.
Yeah,
like,
you can't be big nasty.
No,
I mean, you could be, but nobody's
you
hanging out with that guy.
Man, there ain't no woman even close to my age gonna put up with that. They're gonna be like, "You're what?" No,
Yeah.
I'm good.
No.
Yeah.
Big
taco, on the other hand, I mean, that's like,
I mean, who
I don't
doesn't
know,
like
man.
a taco? First of all, but then
I don't know. I have to. Some of your advice, I'm telling you, Julie. I think you're setting me up for failure. You know
why?
what I mean?
What advice have I given you that's bad?
You're telling me like if I bring Herodotus and I'm reading Herodotus,
you're
like,
not bringing Herodotus to a date. I don't care who you're having a date with.
They're gonna say that man knows his history. That man is
okay.
I like that guy.
I have read Herodotus, and I'm going to tell you that if you brought a Herodotus book on a date with me, that would be the last date we'd ever have. Because I'd be like, this guy is so pretentious. Why is he carrying Herodotus around with him?
Well, what about I could bring Descartes. I could bring.
No, you're not bringing Descartes. You're not bringing any of that. No, and no. It is so pretentious. You can't do it. You get that stuff. When you do that when the girl comes over, when the woman comes over to your apartment, and on your, coffee table or your nightstand or wherever you think she's going to be, that's where you leave your Herodotus and just have her look at it without you putting it in her face. That way she'll be like, oh,
you know what I could do? I could bring a children's book. And she's like, why did you bring a children's book? Well, I'm just trying to gauge what I'm going to read with our first child.
Oh my God.
No. Class 1 stalker. No, bad news. No.
Run out the door.
You do not bring kids to no, don't even raise that. No.
Just really quick, there was this guy that I met through friends, and I don't know, I thought he was kind of cute, whatever. And and then he was drunk or something. I went on a date with him, and he said he was so drunk, and he's like, Michelle, he was Southern. That's why I'm doing the voice. Michelle, you're going to be such a good mama someday. And I was like, nope, bye. Goodbye.
Listen,
goodbye.
Just like we started with the Marine Corps where I gave the safety conditions if you treatment, I've also got another one that will help women in their dating life. It is what when we slammed our scuzz scrubbers on the deck every night in boot camp, we had to repeat this mantra, right? And it's like I picture it as like wedding vows for our future wedding, right? And so when the drill instructor would scream, discipline is, like he'd say, discipline is, we had to slam our scrubbers down and say, discipline is instant obedience to all orders, self-reliance, and teamwork, sir. There's your vows, ladies. Right there. Instant obedience to all orders, self-reliance, and teamwork. Sir. Yeah, the sir's important.
I just snorted something out of my nose.
Michelle's looking at me just like, yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I mean,
so listen.
You say so.
What? Is it the self? Is it the self-reliance part? I mean, I figured the instant obedience to all orders.
You cannot bring up. You cannot bring up future vows. You cannot bring up future children.
No.
You cannot bring up Herodotus. I'm going to give you a whole list of things you cannot do.
So
creepy.
No.
Creepy.
I mean, even if I say 401k fully vested.
Any sort of like you know what it is? It is a form of love bombing that is super unhealthy.
Well, I think
that's why I recoil from that.
Think about this. if you were on a date with some women and she was like, I can't wait for us to have kids together, or I can't wait for us to get married, and you're like, this is date 1 or date 2, wouldn't you
Like
be
what?
like a little like stage 5 clinger?
Yeah. We got a stage 5 clinger.
I mean, it depends. I mean, it's like,
Really?
it depends. I mean, it's like, you want to know the real answer?
Yes.
Okay. Like the big nasty part of me is like, how much sex am I going to get out of this before like I got like, before this collapses?
Okay.
Like, I mean, you got to gauge that where it's just like,
Nah, because that woman, if you're gonna do that, because she's already talking marriage and kids, speaking of stage 5 clinger, she's gonna
Well, this is where I
Awesome.
think online dating is very useful because I think that it at least for some of the people that I know who've like gotten married in their late 30s, 40s, is like you write stuff on your dating profile. I don't know this. I've never online dated, but you know what the person's looking for. And you
yeah.
know what the intention is. And not to say that it's the first thing that's brought up, but it's like, that that's what they want. And I think that that's helpful. I know people who've gotten together very quickly that way because they're like, I don't want to waste any more time. You're great. Let's do this. I actually photographed a wedding. I've shot like 100 weddings. So it's like, I have very specific feelings about all this stuff. But she was a Broadway choreographer and she was marrying a brain surgeon. She had been divorced and she literally went on match.com or whatever. And she, as a joke, clicked brain surgeon. Like she was like, I want to date a brain surgeon. Like, and then this brain surgeon
Dig it.
rates her.
Okay.
And then they got married. And like they had a whole write up in the New York Times. It was great. But I was like, man, okay, all right. But she's like, I want to get married. I want to have kids. I want to do, so it was.
Are they
Well,
still, I
the thing
wonder if
is,
they're still
engaged.
married.
And
They are.
here's the I'm probably the wrong person to ask in this because and my man Nick Paro's in the chat, so he backed me up on this. I'm a former veteran and so infantry, so I like and aviation, so I like a little crazy, every once in a while. It's good training because there's things that you don't do when you get comfortable in civilian life that you should be doing that help you. Like, do you have a mirror on a pole where you look under your undercarriage to see if there's explosives before you get in the car? No, but you should, because there could be explosives. You get a crazy woman, there might be. Now you have to check. Are you checking corners before you go around them? Are you clearing rooms when you went in? You can't assume your house is safe. So these are things that when you get that kind of a woman, you're going to do these things. So part of it is good training. I'm not saying do it all the time, right? But it's good training. No, I didn't say it.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say we need to do a whole like boot camp 101 for dating here.
Probably.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I feel so far removed from it. Like we're living in a different world now.
No, you are.
Yeah.
Like it's been. I'll be married 10 years this November, and I guess.
Congratulations. That's good.
Oh, thanks. Listen, marriage is a choice we make every day. It's very hard, but it's also rewarding.
That's with any relationship with people. I mean, just it takes work on both. I mean, that's the thing is like, I mean, it's the one thing my dad, stressed. I mean, I grew up in a household that didn't have women's work and men's work. It was just work, So it was like I folded laundry. I didn't, like my. It's just one of those things. Yeah. So it's like, for me, it's just, I don't look at it like that. I don't have that, that kind of mentality with it.
Yeah.
So it's work. I mean, like my first marriage, didn't work out. It is though.
But it's so nice to have the choice to leave it if you want to. I mean, like that's why the getting rid of the no fault divorce thing, a lot of these like crazy right-wing Christian people are trying to outlaw or they're trying to get rid of no fault divorce. And that's
I don't really understand it. Like, why would you?
Because they want to make it impossible for people to get divorced because that's against their religion.
No, I mean,
and
I
it's
know.
also make it harder for women to
go. Well, especially because Trump yesterday said that's a horrible thing that he said, which I don't have a direct quote, but it basically like the crime rate would be a lot lower if people didn't do something pesky, like, report domestic violence as crime. And I'm paraphrasing, but not by much.
He said you get into a little fight with the wife and then it's a crime. I'm like, this is the guy who was literally accused of raping his first wife
and ripping out her hair. Remember where she sent him to her some doctor to get hair plugs, and he didn't like it, so he ripped out her hair. I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to have to go because I have a call in about 6 minutes. But I'm going to say this, and you guys are both going to hate me for this, but I feel compelled to say it. My husband and I just had this discussion. Our relationship does not work. I've never worked in our relationship ever in my life, and he said the same thing.
Well, I mean, there's nothing. I mean, look, everybody's situation is different, you know.
I know.
And
you're also older. Like, that's a huge part of it.
I think that's true.
Like,
I think that's true. We're both
older.
older.
You are. You know where your boundaries are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, getting married at 33 or 32, however old I was.
100%.
You know what I mean? I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. You know, like 33 to 43 feels like a big jump. You know?
And I wouldn't hate anybody, man. That's like, you know, who's like, hey, you know, like married my best friend. It doesn't feel like work. Like, I'm like, man, good for you, dude. Like, that's, you know, like, and I think, you know, and I'll let you go wrap this up. But I think the problem is, like, you have men, you know, or people, like mostly men that I see this with, where it's why would you want to spend all this time trying to oppress the person that you love? Like, why are you trying to hold them back? Like, why wouldn't you support them? Like, why wouldn't you, you know? And so I don't get it. Like, I honestly don't get that mentality, you know? You know, I wasn't even like that in one of my first marriages. What kind of doing that was just an undiagnosed PTSD and depression and anxiety. And so my wife ended up having to be basically my caretaker, and it wore out. But man, I encouraged her to get her master's. I helped her, you know, she was a dietitian. I helped her study for her state exam. It took her 4 times to get it, and I helped her do it, you know, and it's just in other areas, it just didn't work, you know, and but I never tried to hold her back. In fact, I was like, no, you need to do this. No,
sometimes you just grow, and sometimes that means growing apart. And like, that's just life.
And that's basically
absolutely true. And I think you make a good point, Michelle, that my husband and I are both older, and we were older when we got into this relationship. And, you know, he had been married before, and I had never been married, but I'd certainly dated my share of, you know, people who are not.
You were like a grown ass woman. You had a kid.
Yeah, I was a grown ass woman with a kid, and like I wasn't gonna experiment, right? Like, if I was gonna get married, it was gonna be for keep.
You want to be absolutely sure.
Yeah, and but it's interesting because I hear that from people. They're like, marriage is work, and I'm like, actually, the happiest moment of my day. This is gonna sound so sappy, you guys, and really, then I do have to go. And after this, you probably will want me to hang up.
No,
the happiest moment of my day is when I hear his key in the door.
Aw, see, that's nice. That's real. No, I'm serious. That's nice.
Yeah, like
that's awesome.
It makes me so happy that he's home, and it makes me so happy to just be with him, even if we're doing something like not even speaking to each other, but watching TV or something. Just being near him makes me really, really happy. And we've been together a long time. So,
and that's one thing we got to stop in this society, man, is like this whole, oh, you love your spouse, but no, man, like that's where we all should be too.
Like, it's so gay to love your wife. Like, that's I'm like, is it?
Yeah.
Is it?
No, it's like, it's like, oh, I'd rather spend time with my wife. What's wrong with you? I don't know. I love her, and that's why I got married to her.
Sometimes when my husband's playing backgammon and he's like, you know, I'm like, are you gonna come home? Like, come on. And some of the other guys he plays with are like, you know, I don't get that. Like, my wife wants me gone all the time. And I'm like, that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks.
Yeah.
You know?
No, my husband has season tickets to the local hockey team here. And he so he's out a lot during the hockey season, which is a really long season. And forever, like from basically, I think, in a couple weeks to June. And
it's
like
ridiculous.
Yeah. And when he goes to those games, like I get really sad. Like, I don't get sad, but it's like, oh, and I stay up to make sure he's home. Like, not because he wants me to, but just because like I just don't like going to sleep without him. And Michelle knows I'm such an early to bed person, so that when he comes home at like 11,
you and I are like opposite like that.
Totally opposite. Like, I get up super early. All right, I gotta run. It doesn't mean you guys have to run. It's just that I have to run.
Yeah. Well, we have our do our thing at 4. So
yeah.
I need like a breather. So if anybody is interested, over at the Mayday Network, Julie and I are going to talk about this Epstein book situation at 4:00. And then at 7 on our YouTube channel, we're going to talk to a retired Lieutenant Colonel Marine Jag about the legality of the strike against the civilian Venezuelan boat, in addition to the legality of deploying U.S. troops in U.S. cities. So we're going to have that discussion with her.
Mayday Network.
Yes, the
Mayday Network. It's on YouTube.
The Mayday Network on YouTube. So come join us over on YouTube at 4, and then again at 7.
Yep.
Like and subscribe so you get these alerts, so that you don't have to join other shows to find out when we're doing stuff. And thanks, everybody. Thanks.
Absolutely. That's everybody's mission right now. Go to the YouTube Network, like and subscribe. Mayday Network.
Mayday Network.
The Mayday Network.
Here
we go.
All right.
Ladies, appreciate it as always. Everyone
Bye, Big Taco.
Have a good one.